All right, so are you ready to really get into this whole real estate investing thing?
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, is it really all it's cracked up to be? We're looking at this book on
Right.
financial independence, and I mean, this author's making some pretty bold claims, right? Saying things like real estate can even beat out the stock market.
What?
But we're gonna dig deep. Okay, we're gonna see if it actually makes sense for your financial goals.
Yeah, I mean, what really stood out to me was how the author just jumps right into this whole leverage thing,
Oh yeah,
like using borrowed money to boost your potential gains.
right,
It's a powerful tool,
right.
but it's definitely not without its risks.
Well, and that's what I was thinking too, because the book gives this example about putting down $10,000
That-
on a $200,000 property
Okay.
and saying if that jumps up to $250,000,
Yeah,
boom, you've made a 400% return.
yeah.
But wouldn't that also mean you'd lose big time if the market tanks? Like what happened back in 2010?
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
That's a huge point. And the source actually acknowledges that while real estate has gone up a lot since the 2010 housing crisis,
Yeah.
it's not always going to go up.
Mm.
But what's interesting is they say that historically, it's been less volatile than stocks.
Hmm.
That's a pretty compelling argument, especially if you're looking for something a little more stable.
Okay, so there are risks. But going back to leverage for a sec, it seems counterintuitive that putting down less money
Right.
could actually lead to a bigger return. Shouldn't putting more down, reduce the risk?
It seems like it should, but the author actually says that in certain markets, keeping more cash liquid and using more leverage
Okay.
could actually make you more money. Think about it this way. If you had 50 grand to invest,
Okay.
would you rather put it all in one place with a big down payment?
Yeah.
Or spread it across multiple properties using leverage to kind of amplify your gains?
Okay.
It's a strategy, though. It takes some serious analysis of your risk tolerance, and you know what the market's doing.
That's pretty interesting. It kind of goes against that whole, saving up for a big down payment thing that we always hear about.
Right.
But what about the tax advantages of real estate? The book really dives into those, and it seems like a huge plus.
It is. And the thing that I found really fascinating was the 1031 exchange. Have you heard of that?
I have.
It lets you avoid paying taxes on the profit when you sell a property if you reinvest that profit into a new one.
Oh, wow.
So you can keep rolling those gains over and over again, building up a pretty substantial portfolio while minimizing your tax burden.
That's a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah, stocks definitely don't offer that.
So you're basically snowballing your investments
Exactly.
and potentially dodging a huge tax bill down the line. That's a pretty incredible perk.
Yeah.
But let's be real for a minute. Isn't buying a place a massive commitment?
Yeah.
You're basically planting roots, right?
Well, actually, the source challenges that idea. They talk about the flexibility of having a multi-unit property,
Okay.
like a duplex or a triplex. You could live in one unit and rent out the others.
Right.
And maybe even cover your whole mortgage with that rental income. Or even better,
Okay.
you could move somewhere else entirely and keep the property,
Oh, wow.
turning it into like a passive income stream.
So you're not necessarily tied down.
But
You can change up your living situation and still get all the benefits of owning a rental property.
exactly.
Okay, well, let's talk about how you actually get started with this whole real estate thing. The book talks about different types of mortgages,
Sure.
like fixed rate and adjustable rate.
Yeah.
What are the main differences there? And how do you pick the one that's right for you?
That's where being strategic really comes in. A fixed rate mortgage gives you stability
Right.
because the interest rate stays the same.
Right.
But an adjustable rate mortgage can actually be a good thing for certain investors.
Okay.
Say you're only planning to hold on to a property for like 5 years and you think interest rates are going to stay low
Okay.
or maybe even go down. An ARM with its lower starting rate could be a smart move.
But wouldn't that be risky if interest rates suddenly shot up?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why it's so important to really understand the market and how much risk you're comfortable with. The author really stresses shopping around for the best rates
Okay.
and understanding all those extra costs that come with a mortgage.
Speaking of costs, the book also talks about how much house you can actually afford.
Yeah.
And it actually pushes back against that common 40% rule.
Right.
They recommend being a bit more conservative.
Yeah. They say you should aim to keep your mortgage payments, including things like taxes and assessments,
Okay.
at 30% of your monthly income or less.
Okay.
That way you don't end up house poor,
Yeah.
which basically means you're spending so much on your house that you can't enjoy anything else.
Right. Yeah. You're just scraping by.
Exactly. It's about finding a good balance.
And the book has this really detailed example of buying like a $300,000 condo in Chicago,
Yeah.
just to show you how to factor in all those costs, not just the mortgage payment.
All right, things like property taxes, insurance, maybe HOA fees, and all the maintenance. It all adds up.
Yeah, that's where I think people can get tripped up. They focus on that monthly payment,
Exactly.
but forget about all those extra expenses.
The author is all about looking at the total cost of owning a home.
Now let's talk about down payments, because there's this myth that you always need 20% down,
Right.
but the book actually debunks that and even suggests that a smaller down payment can be a good thing. But isn't that super risky? You'd probably get stuck with PMI, right?
It's all about understanding the trade-offs. PMI, or private mortgage insurance, does add another cost.
Right.
But the author says it can be worth it if it helps you get into the market sooner, especially when property values are going up and interest rates are low.
Okay.
Think about it this way. What if you kept that extra cash invested in the stock market where it could potentially earn a higher return?
Right.
Instead of tying it all up in a huge down payment. It's a bold move.
Yeah.
Definitely not for everyone.
So it's like challenging that whole save up for a big down payment thing.
Exactly.
But it's definitely something you need to carefully consider your own risk tolerance, and you know what the market's doing.
Absolutely.
While PMI might seem like this necessary evil, the book actually lists 4 ways to get rid of it.
Oh, yeah. Can you walk us through those?
Yeah, so as your property value goes up, your equity stake grows too.
Okay.
And eventually, you might hit that 20% threshold, and you won't need PMI anymore.
So you're basically riding that appreciation wave.
Exactly. The second way is by doing strategic renovations that increase your property's value,
Okay.
that boosts your equity and could get you over that 20% mark faster.
Yeah.
So you're not just waiting for appreciation to happen.
Right.
You're actually making it happen.
I like that.
The third way is to refinance your mortgage once you've built up enough equity.
Okay.
And finally, you can always just choose to pay down your mortgage more aggressively,
Yeah.
which helps you build equity faster and potentially ditch that PMI sooner.
So it's not forever. There are ways to get rid of it.
Exactly. It's about choosing the path that aligns with your financial goals and your situation. So we've talked about finding properties, financing them, and even managing them.
Right.
But what about choosing the right real estate investment strategy? The book talks about 2 main approaches:
Yeah.
flipping and buy and hold.
Okay.
Flipping, from what I understand, is when you buy a place that needs some work,
Right.
you fix it up, and then quickly resell it for a profit.
Yeah, it's a fast-paced, hands-on approach.
Okay.
It can give you quicker returns, but it's not without risk. You need to be able to accurately estimate repair costs, manage contractors, and handle all the complexities of buying and selling properties.
So you need a certain skill set
Definitely.
and a pretty high tolerance for uncertainty.
For sure. On the other hand, the buy and hold strategy is about purchasing properties and holding on to them to the long haul.
Okay.
You generate income through rent and benefit from that long-term appreciation.
That sounds more passive,
It can be.
but probably requires more money up front, right?
It can. But the source argues that building a portfolio of rental properties can create a steady stream of passive income
Okay.
and build long-term wealth. They really emphasize the power of cash flow from rental income,
Okay.
which can help you reach financial independence faster.
That's really interesting. And they use this example of building a 5-property portfolio over 10 years
Yeah.
to show how consistent rental income can really add up.
That example really hit home for me. Seeing how that rental income from multiple properties can compound year after year
Yeah.
really highlights the long-term potential.
And as you pay down those mortgages,
Right.
your equity grows.
So it's like a win-win.
Exactly. A multifaceted wealth-building strategy.
But the book also stresses having a solid plan for managing those rental properties.
Yeah.
It's not just about collecting rent checks every month, right?
Oh, definitely not.
Well-
You need to be ready for things like tenant issues, maintenance requests.
And those unexpected expenses that always seem to pop up. Being proactive and having systems in place can make a world of difference.
It's almost like running a small business.
It is in a lot of ways.
Sure.
You need to see those rental properties as investments
Okay.
that need your attention and care.
Mm-hmm.
But the good news is you don't have to do it all yourself.
Oh, okay.
The book talks about hiring property management companies if you want a more hands-off approach.
That's a good option for people who are new to this, or for anyone who just doesn't want to deal with the day-to-day hassles of being a landlord.
Exactly. A property manager can take care of everything.
Okay.
From screening tenants and collecting rent to handling maintenance and even legal stuff.
Mm.
It can really streamline things and take a lot of stress off your plate.
But wouldn't hiring a property manager cut into your profits?
It does, but the author argues that it can be totally worth the cost, especially if it frees you up to focus on other things.
Right. Like other investments or just your life in general.
Exactly. It's all about weighing the pros and cons and finding what works best for you.
So it's not like a one-size-fits-all thing.
Yep.
You can customize your approach based on your time resources and how comfortable you are with being hands-on.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered finding properties, financing, and managing them.
Right.
But what else is crucial for success in real estate investing?
The book really emphasizes the importance of always learning and staying updated on market trends.
Okay.
The real estate market is always changing, and knowledge is power.
It's like any investment, right? You have to stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The author recommends reading books, attending seminars,
Okay.
connecting with other investors, and just staying informed about what's happening in your local market.
So it's not just about crunching numbers and analyzing deals.
Right.
It's about constantly learning and refining your approach.
Exactly. The more you know, the better equipped you'll be to handle the ups and downs of the market and make the most of your investments.
This all makes so much sense. It seems like real estate investing can be a great way to build wealth, but it's not passive. It takes effort, knowledge, and a willingness to learn and adapt.
You got it. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's about making smart decisions, managing risks, and having a long-term vision.
It sounds like a journey that takes both planning and hands-on work.
It is.
But the potential rewards can be huge.
Absolutely. And that's what makes it so exciting. It's a dynamic field where you can build a tangible asset and generate passive income,
Yeah.
ultimately reaching a greater level of financial freedom.
Okay, so we've covered finding, financing, managing, and the importance of continuous learning.
Right.
But how do you actually turn those properties into profitable rentals?
Good question.
What insights does the book offer on attracting and keeping good tenants?
That's a key part of successful real estate investing. And the author has some really interesting strategies.
Okay.
First and foremost, the book stresses the importance of making your rental property look its best.
So making sure it's clean, well-maintained, and appealing to potential renters.
Exactly. Things like high-quality photos, a detailed description, and even staging the unit can make a huge difference in attracting interest.
Okay.
And when it comes to setting the rent, the author says you got to do your research to find that sweet spot
Right.
where you're competitive but not leaving money on the table.
Makes sense. You want to attract renters, but also make sure you're maximizing your return.
Exactly. The book also suggests offering incentives to attract long-term tenants.
Like what?
Things like slightly lower rent for a multi-year lease, or maybe even covering some utilities.
Okay.
This can help reduce tenant turnover, which can be a major headache and expense for landlords.
That's a good strategy.
Yeah.
It's about thinking long-term and finding ways to benefit both you and your tenants.
Absolutely. And when it comes to screening potential tenants,
Yeah.
the author can't stress enough how important thorough background checks are.
Okay.
This means verifying employment history, credit score, rental history. The whole 9 yards.
To minimize risk.
Exactly.
I
You want to
love-
make sure you're bringing in responsible and reliable tenants.
It sounds like a lot of work up front,
It is.
but it could save you so much trouble down the line.
Oh, absolutely. The book also recommends having a clear and comprehensive lease agreement
Okay.
that spells out the responsibilities of both the landlord and the tenant. This can help prevent misunderstandings and disputes later on.
So it's all about setting clear expectations from the beginning and building a professional relationship with your tenants.
Precisely. And the author suggests staying in touch with your tenants throughout the lease term.
Okay.
This means responding quickly to maintenance requests, addressing any concerns, and even giving them updates on property-related things.
To build trust.
Exactly. By treating tenants fairly and professionally, you can create positive relationships and make problems less likely.
It seems like managing rental properties well requires a mix of business skills, people skills, and being proactive.
You nailed it. It's not just about numbers and rent checks. It's about building relationships, solving problems, and making sure your investments are working their best.
This has been a fascinating look into managing rental properties. We've covered so much, from making your property shine to screening tenants and creating good landlord-tenant relationships.
It's clear that to manage properties well, you need to be organized. Pay attention to details
Yeah,
and be committed to providing a good experience for your tenants.
definitely. We'll wrap up our exploration of real estate investing in part 3 of our deep dive.
Great.
We'll get your expert take on the key takeaways and discuss what questions potential investors should be asking themselves as they get started.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned. All right, so we're back, ready to keep going with this whole real estate investing thing.
Yeah, let's dive back in.
We've talked about finding those properties,
Yeah.
getting the financing, figuring out how to manage them.
Yeah.
But now we're getting into like building a portfolio that actually makes you money.
Yeah, the cash flow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how to make sure those rentals are running smoothly.
It's moving from that initial excitement of finding a property
Hmm.
to actually being a landlord
Right.
and turning those investments into a steady income.
Yeah. And the book really emphasizes that whole cash flow thing as like a path to financial independence.
Yes.
It's not just about waiting for property values to go up.
Right.
It's about creating a system where your investments are working for you, bringing in money every single month.
And that's where rental properties can really shine.
Right.
They can give you that consistent income stream
Okay.
to help cover expenses, pay off debt faster,
Yeah.
or even, fund a lifestyle change.
The book has this really cool example of building a cash flow portfolio by buying 5 properties over 10 years.
Yeah.
It's not about getting rich quick.
Right.
It's about consistency and planning.
That example really clicked for me.
Yeah.
Seeing how that rental income from multiple properties can just keep growing
Yeah.
year after year
Mhm.
really shows you the potential.
And as you're paying down those mortgages,
Uh-huh.
your equity's going up too. So
Exactly.
it's like a double win.
A multifaceted wealth building strategy.
But the book also talks about needing a good management plan for those rentals.
Oh, for sure.
It's not just about collecting rent checks every month, is it?
No way.
Yeah.
You've got to be prepared for tenant issues, maintenance requests,
Yeah,
those unexpected costs that always seem to come up.
right.
Being proactive and having systems in place can make a huge difference.
It's like running a whole business.
It is in a lot of ways.
Right.
You have to treat your rental properties like investments that need your attention.
Okay.
But the good news is
Hmm.
you don't have to do it all yourself.
Oh.
The book talks about hiring property management companies
Right.
if you want to be more hands-off.
That seems like a good option for someone just starting out or anyone who doesn't want to deal with the day-to-day stuff.
Exactly. A property manager can take care of everything,
Okay.
from screening tenants and collecting rent to handling maintenance and even legal issues.
Wow.
It can streamline things and take a lot of the stress off your plate.
But wouldn't that cut into your profits?
It does, but the author says it can be worth it, especially if it gives you more time to focus on other things.
Right? Like other investments or just enjoying life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about weighing the pros and cons and seeing what works best for your situation.
So there's no one right way to do it.
Nope.
It all depends on your time resources and how hands-on you want to be.
Exactly.
So we've got finding the properties, financing, managing.
Yeah.
But what else is important for being successful in real estate investing?
The book really stresses the importance of continuous learning and staying on top of market trends.
Great, because the market's always changing.
Exactly. And knowledge is power.
It's like with any investment.
Right. You have to stay ahead of the curve.
So how do you do that?
The author recommends reading books, going to seminars,
Okay.
networking with other investors, and just staying informed about what's happening in your local market.
So it's not just about crunching numbers.
Right.
It's about constantly learning and improving your strategy.
Exactly. The more you know, the better prepared you'll be to deal with the changes in the market and make smart decisions.
This makes a lot of sense. It seems like real estate investing can be a great way to build wealth,
For sure.
but it takes work, it takes knowledge, and a willingness to keep learning.
You got it. It's not some get-rich-quick scheme. It's about making smart choices, managing risks, and having a long-term plan.
It's a journey
It
that
is,
takes planning and hands-on effort.
but the potential rewards can be huge.
For sure. And what I like about it is that it's a dynamic field.
Yeah,
You're building something tangible, and you can generate passive income,
exactly.
which can lead to more financial freedom.
That's the goal.
Okay, so we've talked about finding the properties, financing, managing them, and the importance of always learning.
Right.
But how do you actually make those properties profitable rentals?
Great question.
What does the book say about attracting good tenants and keeping them?
That's a really important part of being successful. And the author has some great tips.
Okay.
First of all, the book really emphasizes presenting your rental property in the best possible light.
So making it look good?
Exactly. Make sure it's clean, well-maintained, and appealing to potential renters.
Oh, okay.
Things like high-quality photos, a detailed description, and even staging the unit can make a big difference. When it comes to setting the rent, the author says you need to do your research.
Oh,
Find that sweet spot where you're competitive but not underselling yourself.
Makes sense. You want to attract renters, but also make sure you're making a profit.
Right. The book also suggests offering incentives to attract tenants who will stay longer.
Like what kind of incentives?
Things like a slightly lower rent for a longer lease, or maybe covering some of the utilities.
Oh, okay.
That can help reduce tenant turnover, which can be a real pain and expensive for landlords.
Yeah, that's smart. It's about taking the long view and finding ways to make it work for both sides.
Absolutely. And when you're screening potential tenants,
Right.
the author really can't emphasize enough the importance of thorough background checks.
Okay.
That means checking employment history, credit score, rental history, the whole 9 yards.
To minimize risks.
Exactly. You want to make sure you're getting responsible tenants.
It sounds like a lot of work up front,
It is.
but it could save you so much trouble later on.
Oh, definitely. The book also recommends having a clear and thorough lease agreement
Okay.
that spells out the responsibilities of both the landlord and the tenant
Right.
to avoid misunderstandings and problems down the road.
So it's all about setting clear expectations from the start and creating a professional relationship.
Precisely. And the author suggests stay in communication with your tenants throughout their lease.
Okay.
That means responding quickly to maintenance requests, addressing any concerns, and even giving them updates about the property.
So you're building trust.
Exactly. If you treat your tenants fairly and professionally, you're more likely to have positive relationships and fewer issues.
It seems like managing rental properties, well, it takes a combination of business skills, people skills,
Yeah.
and just being on top of things.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
It's not just about numbers and rent checks.
Hmm.
It's about building those relationships, solving problems, and making sure your investments are doing well.
This has been a really interesting look at how to manage rental properties.
It has.
We've covered a lot, from making your property attractive to finding good tenants and building good relationships.
It takes a lot of planning,
Yeah.
attention to detail,
Mhm.
and a commitment to making things work well for your tenants.
For sure. We'll wrap up our real estate investing deep dive in the next part.
Sounds good.
We'll get your expert takeaways and talk about what questions potential investors should be asking themselves before they jump in.
All right.
Stay with us. Welcome back to the final part of our real estate investing deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground,
Oh, yeah.
from leverage and mortgages
Yeah.
to building that cash flow portfolio and managing those properties.
Right.
But before we wrap up, I'm really curious to get your expert perspective. So if you had to distill everything we've talked about into one key takeaway, what would it be?
I think it boils down to this: real estate investing can be a powerful way to build wealth, but it's not passive.
Yeah.
It takes work, knowledge, and a willingness to learn and adapt.
I think that's a really important point. It's not just about buying a property and then sitting back and watching the money come in.
Right.
It's about actively managing those investments, making informed decisions, and staying on top of those market trends. It's an active thing.
Absolutely. Successful real estate investors are constantly learning,
Yeah.
refining their strategies,
Yeah.
and adapting to the changes. They're not afraid to put in the work, and that's where the real rewards are.
And as we've seen, that hard work can really pay off.
It can.
Building a portfolio of rental properties can create that steady passive income,
Yeah.
help you pay off debt quicker,
Yeah.
and ultimately put you on that path to financial freedom.
The key is to think long-term.
Okay.
Focus on building a sustainable system that generates cash flow and appreciates over time.
So it's not about those quick flips or get-rich-quick schemes.
No.
It's about building a strong foundation for long-term wealth and financial security.
Exactly. It's about building a portfolio that can handle those market ups and downs
Mm-hmm. Right.
and provide financial stability for years to come.
Now, for our listeners who are thinking about getting into real estate investing,
Yeah.
what's one question they should ask themselves as they start exploring this path?
I'd say this: how much time and effort are you really willing to put into building and managing a real estate portfolio?
Okay.
It's not just about the money. It's about the time and energy you're willing to dedicate to this.
That's such an important question to think about.
It is.
It's about making sure your investment strategy aligns with your lifestyle, your goals,
Right.
and how much you can actually take on.
Real estate investing can be incredibly rewarding,
Yeah.
but it's not for everyone. It takes commitment,
Yeah.
a desire to learn, and a willingness to face the challenges that come with it.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left thinking about everything we've talked about.
Yeah.
The power of leverage, the tax advantages, the flexibility of real estate, and the potential to build a cash flow portfolio that could really change your financial future. It's a lot to take in.
It is.
And I think the biggest question for our listeners is, Could real estate be the key to unlocking your financial freedom? It's something to really consider. Weigh the options and see if it fits with your personal goals.
It's definitely a journey worth exploring. With careful planning, informed decisions, and a little bit of perseverance, real estate can be a powerful way to achieve financial success.
That's a great point.
But it all starts with taking that first step and deciding if it's right for you.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of real estate investing.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep striving for those financial goals.